This is Brian Harris with the Independent Black Voters Speak, sponsored by Black Book Media, where we are doing our series of Know Your Candidates. Folks, the time for the elections are coming on very fast. Actually, the elections are scheduled. Actually, the initial elections are scheduled for April 9th, but there's going to be a twist this year that the primaries will be set up where you should receive a mail-in ballot roughly around May 1st. And while it will end on April 9th, the truth of the matter is I encourage you that you vote as soon as you get your ballot, because if you don't, historically people set them in their kitchens, knock them in the trash, whatever, they lose theirs. Well, if you lose your ballot, you've lost your voice. So folks, when the ballot comes, we need you to vote. But more importantly, we need you to be an informed voter. And so that is why the Independent Black Voters has created Know Your Candidates. And I'm here with the Black Book Media team on Black Book TV. Bria, how you doing?
Hi, I'm good.
Tell them who you are.
My name is Bria. I'm 22, so I classify as a millennial. So I'm here as the voice and kind of the outreach for millennial groups. Yeah, and I work with the Black Book Media director, so there we go.
Thank you. And we got Jason here. Jason, tell them who you
doing?
are.
I'm Jason Swan. I'm the kind of the agent in between, the gap in between the two parties. I'm also like the creative director. Like I do a lot of the graphic designs and all the video work for the team. And I'm also an independent Black voter.
Thank you. And man, I need to be where you are on the beach.
I'm just living a dream. I'm just living a dream. It's just a dream.
I hear you. And folks, first of all, we want to welcome Adam BREEDEN. Adam BREEDEN, how are you?
I'm doing wonderful, Brian. Thanks for having me.
So tell them, Adam, give them your name, tell them what you're running for, tell them a little bit of what your position entails, and then tell us a little history about yourself.
Absolutely. So as you just stated, I'm Adam BREEDEN. This year I'm running for District Court Judge in Department 15. If the watchers of this video aren't familiar with District Court and what it does, this is the court of general jurisdiction in our county that hears civil cases of over $15,000, criminal felony cases, and it also hears appeals from justice court and some other administrative bodies. That's just sort of a summary of what it does. There's actually 32 regular division district court judges, and that's why I say I'm running for Department 15. Just to let your viewers know a little bit more about me, my background, and my education, I've practiced law here in Clark County for 17 years as a courtroom litigator, representing plaintiffs and defendants in civil cases. Academically, I graduated summa cum laude from The Ohio State University, where I studied law a semester abroad at Oxford University, England. I then attended the University of Cincinnati College of Law, where I was on law review and extern for a United States District Court judge. Just to let your viewers know, during my career, I've won awards from the Legal Aid Center for my commitment to pro bono or volunteer-free legal services to our community. And I previously served on the Nevada State Bar Fee Dispute Committee. Overall, I've been licensed to practice law in 4 different states and 11 different federal jurisdictions. I've handled matters in Nevada's district and justice courts, as well as the Clark County District Attorney Family Support Division, the Nevada Department of Motor Vehicles, the Nevada Workers' Compensation System, the Nevada Court of Appeals, and the Nevada Supreme Court, where I've presented oral argument on several different occasions before our state's highest court. This year, I'd like to bring change where some change is needed and serve as the new judge in District Court Department 15.
Okay, great. And I love the fact that you said change. We created the Independent Black Voters. We are nonpartisan. We talk to Republicans, we talk to Democrats, we talk to nonpartisans, we talk to everybody that is interested in winning and earning the Black vote. There are certain items and issues in the Black community that we obviously are concerned about. When you look at social justice, it is very important that we have the right judges in place, that we have that judges that understand different cultures and understand and respect all stratospheres of wealth, from the wealthy to the poor, in the belief of equal justice. So tell me, in your own words, from what do you think that there are avenues for improvement in the judicial system, and why would we look for Adam Breeden to be a potential judge to come out and fight for equity of judicial fairness?
Well, there are many issues in our court system that affect the Black community, I think, more strongly than some of the other communities or the population in general. And I first want to explain that as a judge, you have to represent all of the residents of our community.
Absolutely.
And I want to make it clear, my philosophy is will be as a firm but fair judge. I want to do what's right for criminal defendants and those litigants, but also there are a lot of members of the Black community that are victims of crime. And I want to make sure that those victims in your community get justice, and the same justice that anyone else in the community would. I think there are three issues that get talked about today because they disproportionately affect the Black community here in town. The first is bail reform. For 25 years, I've been telling people, I think our bail system, which essentially says, if you have money, you can go free while you're awaiting trial, but if you don't have money, you sit in jail, is a ridiculous way of determining who has to sit in jail before their trial comes about. I don't favor releasing serious offenders who are at risk of harming other people in the community if they're released, like people accused of rape or murder. But at the same time, we have a lot of crimes that I think people in the Black community who simply can't afford bail sit in jail too long over. Another issue I think that affects the Black community is equal justice in terms of sentencing. I think that what I would say to members of the Black community is I will be a colorblind judge. You are not going to get any lighter sentence if you are a white person or a wealthy person or a politically connected person in my courtroom. And Black litigants are going to get the same justice that anyone else would. I think the last issue people often talk about is what we broadly call access to justice. When people use this term, in the criminal system, you have a constitutional right to an attorney to be appointed for you. So when people say access to justice, I think they are talking more about the civil system, where there is no court-appointed attorney for you if you can't afford one. Unfortunately, we just don't live in a system where if you can't afford a civil attorney, for example, a family law attorney or an auto accident attorney, that someone is appointed for you. But in my career as a practitioner, I've done everything that I can to help clients who can't afford attorneys still present their cases. And that's where I talked a little bit about my pro bono involvement in the community and the time that I've donated to legal aid. So I'm committed on those three issues, especially to improve the justice system for our Black community.
Outstanding. Because this goes right into correlation to when you talk about the bail issue. If I'm a person who's in jail and been in jail for quite a long time because I could not have the bail, then I'm more inclined to take a, quote, plea just to get out of jail. Whether I'm guilty or not, I can be coerced into a plea bargain if I've spent time in jail and I just want to get out. So I believe that that is an issue. I agree with you. I've actually been in a pro se before in court, and I was fortunate enough to have a judge that did treat me with respect. but many people are not treated with respect. And the lawyers know that they can use technicalities to boot a case out by pro se pretty quick. So we do need judges that at least respect that person and give them at least the opportunity for some type of equal justice under the law, because it should not be designed so if you're rich, you pretty much win, and if you're poor, you have no voice. So I agree with you on those two scales. The other one too, we look at things, and it's funny. I'm going to ask you this question. The marijuana industry, obviously, there's been a major switch with the legalization of marijuana. Historically, though, we found, and this is one that when you looked at like Denver and you looked at other areas, while the amount of people who didn't look like me incarceration-wise went down, in some instances, it either stayed the same or went up for people that look like us. We need to make sure that, like I said, as things are changing, that it doesn't change for one group and the other group still continues to be held to the old standards. So give me your thought on that.
Well, I absolutely agree with you. The example that you gave, the marijuana industry is constantly changing these days. You have some states, for example, that have vacated convictions for misdemeanor marijuana possession. I think disproportionately, there were a lot of members of the Black community who would be convicted of those offenses. And so we're seeing a lot of reform in that area that I support in light of subsequent changes in the law.
Okay, great. Bria, Jason, do you have any questions?
I do have well, I have kind of a statement too. I feel like some of the issues with maybe judges that aren't Black, maybe the issues of why they're doing harsher sentences or looking at Black people a different way, maybe because you don't really get involved with the Black community, so you don't know, just by the way that they look or the way that they dress or, the way that they carry themselves is completely different than, white people usually carry themselves and dress and things like that. So maybe it can just be, because I've seen a social activity where it was two faces did the same crime, and it showed like people that were dressed were cleaner cut, shaved nicely, even if they did the exact same crime as somebody that looked like a criminal, they were getting lighter sentences with the same exact cases. So is there anything that you do that really, that you try to kind of just step out of what you know and your comfort zone to really make sure that everybody's getting a fair and equal chance, no matter how they're dressing, what they're looking like, how they may present themselves, just based on, the facts, their history, and things of that sort? Do you have anything that you do? Do you go into the communities and, try to engage with people outside of your race? And like, what do you do that ensures that that can help us be ensured that you're not going to just basically look at Black people just for, how they are looking on your part? Do you understand my question?
Well, I think that I do. And I will tell you, my office is a colorblind office. I represent people of all races, wealth status. And right now, what I do for a living is I help the common man, people who need to take on big corporations and need the resources to do that. With my work at Legal Aid in particular, I can tell you the majority of people that I think that you will meet at some of these Legal Aid Ask a Lawyer events are minorities, members of the Black or Hispanic community, and I've always been open to those folks. And as an attorney or a judge, you shouldn't be in this business if you're looking at a person's race in terms of what you sentence them to or how you consider them as a client.
Absolutely.
I
And
have another question.
go ahead, Bria.
Now, this is kind of more steering towards someone that hasn't necessarily been in the system, but maybe what advice would you give to someone that is young like myself, that is possibly trying to get in a position that you're in? What kind of advice can you give to young people or young students that are maybe trying to take up a career in law? And maybe their goal is
You know, Bria, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. That is a wonderful question. And the biggest piece of advice that I will give you is do not limit yourself. I see a lot of very talented people who are either members of the Black community or women like yourself. And for some reason, these people think, well, I should be a paralegal, not an attorney, or, law school would never accept me. And it's a self-limitation sometimes. And I don't mean to say that there's not any racism or setbacks to people in the system. But when you look and you say, gosh, why maybe out of 32 judges in the regular district court do we only have 1 or 2 African-American judges? The answer is we do not have very many African-American attorneys. We need more members of the Black community growing up to go to law school. And that is a big financial and time commitment, but there are plenty of opportunities out there for people. And I wish to stress that. And if anybody thinks they've run against an obstacle, please call me and I can tell you where the opportunities are and people to speak to help you reach your goal.
Nice. Thank you.
And as for your pro bono stuff you were speaking out earlier, like how could a common person like myself be able to find some of these pro bono programs or some of these outreach programs that you may be a part of so we can be more a part of what you got going on?
So the best resource for people, because it's sort of a one-stop shop, is the Legal Aid Center of Southern Nevada. And they have a downtown building location off of Charleston. And you can walk in there at any time and ask about their programs. One of the things that they're very good about doing is they have Ask a Lawyer events. And in particular, they have a family law Ask a Lawyer, they have a veterans Ask a Lawyer, and they have a homeless assistance Ask a Lawyer. And those are dates, a certain day of the month, where anybody can just show up and they can meet with an attorney and get free legal advice about a variety of topics. And, I've been to many of those over the years. I do find there are a lot of members of the Black community who come to those to get help. And of course, it's a way to sort of match your case with an attorney who's willing to take a pro bono case as well. And I'll just let you know, just recently, I've taken a pro bono appeal in an appellate case that concerned child custody for a member of the Black community. And also, I recently helped a member of the Black community who was also a veteran who was trying to get his student loans that at that point were probably 30 years old, discharged in bankruptcy due to financial hardship. And that's just a couple of examples of the types of cases I've done recently and legal areas where legal aid can help.
Okay.
Okay, Adam, again, we thank you for coming on here. As I said, one of the reasons that we believe it is important that we vote, because when you don't vote, you don't have a voice. People respect people who vote. People respect people who determine whether or not they are in office or not. And that is one of the reasons that we had created the Independent Black Voters Speak, is because historically right now, less than 22% of the people that are registered vote in the primary. Now that we're having an all male, hopefully that number will go up. But realistically, if you don't know who the judges are, you won't vote, or you'll guess, or you may have heard a name. And folks, if you want people to respect you, then you must be an educated voter. If you want people to do the right thing in the judicial system, then you must have your voice, and your voice is through voting. So we have people like Adam on here, and Adam, I thank you for taking the time to come in here to talk to us directly about our community. We don't want you to come in. We don't ask people to come in and give us their stump speech. We don't ask people to come in and talk to us about what we want to hear or they think we want to hear. We want them to talk about the issues in our community. And the important thing I'll say, our community believes in law and order. Our community believes in the judicial system. We're just asking for the judicial system to believe in us. We just ask for the judicial system to be blind justice. We cannot continue to be the people that are put up to show that that the judicial system is tough on crime. We cannot continue to be treated at a tougher set of rules than everybody else. We just want blind justice. We want equal justice, and we want the community to be protected, but we do not want it to be disproportionately, or punishment be disproportionately applied to the Black community. And that's why it's important that we have and we vet the judges, and let them know what our expectations are. So now, Adam, you get to kind of take us home, tell us all your information again, give us another quick blurb on why we in the Black community should vote for you.
Absolutely. I completely agree with much of what you said, Brian, particularly about low voter turnout. Nothing will change in the system if people don't get out there and vote to change it. So, your viewers need to make informed decisions about the candidates and use that to vote for people that they think share their common beliefs and will do a good job in any elected office, including the judges.
Absolutely.
So if there's one message that I could leave your viewers with, it is that I am the candidate for change this year in District Court Judge. My opponent is a gentleman who comes from a politically influential family. He was originally appointed to the bench, even though I don't think he was necessarily the candidate for that appointment with the most experience. He was certainly the most well-connected. And in his short time on the bench, I just believe that he has an abysmal performance as a judge. He does have a 40% error rate on appeal. That's equivalent to an F grade. In a couple of major decisions that he's had, one was a case involving Title Max, and Title Max was engaged in predatory lending, offering a loan product that was clearly illegal under Nevada law. And my opponent allowed them to continue to offer that program and fleece Nevada consumers until he was unanimously reversed by the Nevada Supreme Court. In another major case, my opponent refused to enforce a 2016 ballot initiative, and that initiative had concerned private party background checks on gun sales. And whether you agree or disagree with those background checks politically, that was a law that was voted on fairly and voted into law by over 420,000 residents of Clark County. And my opponent simply played politics and decided that that law would not be enforced in our county. Just to sort of wrap up, he's also wrongfully entered $90,000 sanction award against an attorney that appeared in his courtroom that was later vacated. He's entered a $3 million erroneous judgment that was later overturned by the Nevada Supreme Court. And he's a judge that, frankly, is making big mistakes on the bench, not small ones. And I would just reiterate in closing that I'm not politically connected. I'm not heavily backed by any particular special interest group or any political family. I'm the candidate for change that wants to get out here and represent the common person from the bench. So please vote for me, Attorney Adam BREEDEN, for District Court Judge Department 15 this year.
Thank you, Adam. And folks, understand, the primary happens when you have more than two candidates. There are is it 3 candidates in your?
3.
There are 3. So come out and vote. What actually happens, so you know, if you win, if the candidate wins 50% of the vote plus 1 vote, they will automatically win. If no candidate wins 50% plus 1, then it will go to the general election. It is very important that we know our candidates. It's very important that we vote in the primary, because that will determine whether they will actually have a primary, general, and it will determine who will be in the general. So I encourage everyone to be an informed voter and vote. So as we close this out, Bria, Jason, you have anything you want to say?
Nope. I thank you, Mr. Adam, Brittany, and I'll look forward to seeing your name on the ballot.
Thank you. It's great to meet you.
Pleasure.
Yeah, I don't have any more questions at this time, but I do thank you for your time and also the great information that you have given, because I did get some good information from you as well.
Okay. Well, thanks again, Adam, and we look forward to talking to you some more before the primary and after the primary. Thank you.
I'd love to be back. Thank you.